One of, if not the biggest and most anticipated PlayStation exclusive of the entire generation, has a pretty solid rumored release date, and that is none other than Naughty Dog's The Last of Us Part 2. So let's talk about it. What is going on, guys? Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another video. Hope everybody's having a great start to the weekend. Hope you enjoyed your 4th of July celebrations. And you know what, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and maybe consider subscribing to the channel for future content. I greatly appreciate it. So there's been a lot of talk around Last of Us Part 2. It's probably my most anticipated game for 2020, right up there with something like Ori and the Will of the Wisps and Cyberpunk 2077. People have been waiting a long time to see how this sequel is going to pan out, considering how Last of Us ended all the way back in 2013. Now, for my part, Last of Us was the first PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4 game I tried out when I got my PlayStation 4, and it's a complete masterpiece in my opinion. Still probably the best PlayStation exclusive I've ever played, although God of War does come pretty damn close. So I have been waiting to see how this is going to play out. When is it going to release? There was talks that it would come out maybe this holiday, but obviously it's not happening. Death Stranding is coming out November 8th. Well, it seems like you don't have really that much longer to wait. Death Stranding November 8th, and it sounds like The Last of Us Part 2 will be coming out sometime in February of 2020. You have Z-Huge kind of hinting at it / confirming it on Reset Era. There is a Chinese poster who leaked, I guess you could want to call it leak, the editions, and he was right about the Death Stranding stuff. And it's not the first time we've heard about February 2020 being the date. Jason Schreier Kotaku said that that is what he heard a couple months ago. And of course, the voice actress for Ellie, Ashley Johnson, she kind of hinted at it as well. You could kind of like hear it under her breath. She was about to say February. So it sounds like right now the game's on track for a February 2020 release date. And the Chinese poster, he actually says there's 4 different editions that you'll be able to buy. Of course, the standard edition, the special edition, the collector's edition, and the Ellie edition. Now, I'm sure the standard edition will be regular $60. Who knows what the Ellie edition will cost? That'll probably be a $300 collector's edition. More than likely, we'll have a statue of some kind and a whole bunch of other goodies for the people that really want to spend the extra money. So keep that in mind. Maybe put that money away for February if you want to get that like premium, very premium collector's edition. Now, with this game coming out in February, man, I gotta say, just looking at the stuff coming out in early 2020, you have Ori and the Will of the Wisps, the sequel to one of my favorite games of this generation. You have Cyberpunk coming out in April. You have Marvel's Avengers coming out in May. You have Watch Dogs Legions and Final Fantasy VII Remake coming out in March. Early 2020 definitely seems to be packed so far, and right away, unlike this year, where early 2019 didn't really have a lot of Game of the Year candidates outside of something like Sekiro, man, you can already boil it down to this. It's going to be Cyberpunk 2077 versus The Last of Us Part 2 for Game of the Year honors for 2020. Now, of course, there's going to be 5 other different candidates. Personally, I hope Ori 2 makes it in. Maybe something like Halo Infinite on Xbox's side. Ghost of Tsushima potentially, if that game turns out to be really good. And there's also kind of some sort of info going around that that game might be targeting an April release. So Sony might be setting out the PlayStation 4 with a bang, launching Death Stranding in November, followed by The Last of Us Part 2 in February, and potentially Ghost of Tsushima in early of 2020. That is 3 huge marquee titles to kind of send the PlayStation 4 to its, I don't want to say it's grave because it's not. The PlayStation 5 will be coming out, but that is definitely a huge send-off with 3 major titles for that system. Now, the Game of the Year discussion. Cyberpunk versus The Last of Us Part 2. Man, it'll be definitely hard to tell and hard to really guess. People love The Witcher 3. People consider that one of the games of the generation, just like they considered Last of Us Part 1 a game of the generation back in the 360 and PS3 era. So if both these games are as good as we think they're going to be, Naughty Dog's going to be on their A game, CD Projekt Red's going to be on their A game, it's gonna come down. It's gonna be pretty close. You really can't just sit down and say, you know what, Last of Us has it in the bag, because there is no other game that could potentially compete with it. When you know that CD Projekt Red has kind of competed in that arena. But maybe even a bigger question, something that I want you guys to answer in the comments below, outside of who you think would win in that Game of the Year discussion, is when are you going to play The Last of Us Part 2? Let's say it does release in February 2020, according to all these rumors, according to Z-Huge and Jason Schreier and this Chinese poster who got it all right, and the voice actress of Ellie kind of saying February, underneath her breath. Let's say it does come out then. But we all know the PlayStation 5 is coming out in, end of 2020. It has back compat. It's probably a good bet that some PlayStation 4 games will be updated, very much like Xbox One X games. Higher visual fidelity, better frame rate. So while we expect Last of Us Part 2 to run at 30 frames per second and maybe 1440p, if you waited to play it on the PlayStation 5, you could potentially be playing it at 4K 60 frames, not like a split performance mode. Like, you might get a performance mode on the Pro that might do somewhat close to 60, but not really. And maybe you have a resolution mode on the Pro that maybe does 1440p. But what if you could have both 4K and 60 on the PS5? Where would you play this game? Would you play it day one regardless because you have to know how the story ends? You want to be a part of the discussion that goes on online when talking about this game? Or will you wait the 8-9 months and play The Last of Us Part 2 at the highest fidelity possible with the highest frame rate possible as a pseudo launch title for the PlayStation 5? And the reason I bring that up is because I've been thinking more and more about this. How are you going to play some of these games that are coming out early next year and the end of next year with a new generation on the horizon? This isn't like a mid-gen upgrade. This isn't PlayStation 4 Pro and Xbox One X rather, where they look better and they run better, but it's still the same gen. This is going to be 2 powerful systems, much better CPUs, a more efficient and more powerful GPU. You have the SSD technology inside for, the elimination of loading. You have ray tracing. Would you want to experience Last of Us Part 2 in the best it could possibly be your very first time? Or would you play it, when it first comes out and then try to maybe have your second playthrough on the beefed up hardware so you can maybe get a better experience the second time through? It's definitely interesting things going on here. So, stuff that I think about all the time. It's like, man, do I want to experience it now, or do I want to wait and experience it while at its best? Some people will probably choose to experience on the PlayStation 5 for the first time, but others, like myself, there's absolutely no way that I am waiting for the PlayStation 5 to play The Last of Us Part 2. I'm not waiting those 8 or 9 months. I'm going to be there day one. I'm going to shut myself off of social media so I don't get spoiled, because I want to see how this story concludes itself. I don't want people to ruin it, and I want to just immerse myself in this world. Now, when do I think this is potentially going to get announced? When are Sony finally going to announce the release date for this game? If it's coming February 2020, like a lot of the rumors and leaks say it is, I think there's one day marked, and it's not that long from now. It's September 26th, which is Outbreak Day in that universe. So on September 26th, I would imagine we probably get a story trailer, because we really haven't gotten one yet. It's a gameplay demo from E3 of last year. There was the PSX video from 2016 where she was playing guitar. There was the video with like Ellie's mother getting hanged at a tree from or I think that was from Paris Games Week 2017. So we haven't seen a story trailer. So that's what I think you'll get on Outbreak Day, September 26th. We will get a trailer, a story trailer, and it will end with the release date, February 2020. I'm going to say February 14th, that Friday. It's really only going to be 4 days, either February 7th, February 14th, the 21st, or the 28th. I'm going to pick the 14th because it's right in the middle of the month. And pre-orders were open, very similar to the whole Death Stranding stuff. Like Death Stranding's release date trailer came, they opened up pre-orders on PlayStation Network. The same thing will happen here, September 26th. I have just a feeling that is when, they'll let everybody know that Last of Us Part 2 will be coming out on, February 14th, 2020. The question is, what version will you be buying? And will you be waiting until the PlayStation 5 to play it at its best possible performance and resolution? Either way, it's definitely going to be a contender for Game of the Year. And right now, I would probably say it's the leading contender. No matter how good Cyberpunk possibly is, it's going to be a tough fight. But it's definitely two games that are, that are going to be quite amazing. You add in some other ones like Ori, even something like Halo Infinite and Ghost of Tsushima. It sounds like 2020 is going to be a lot better than 2019 has been so far. But anyways, guys, that's the video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, share this out on social media, tell a friend about the channel. I'd greatly appreciate that. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here or haven't already. And if you always want to be notified immediately when I drop new content, hit that bell icon, the notification setting, so you can always be immediately notified when I drop new videos. Thank you guys so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. And I'll see everybody in the next video. Later, guys.